Ay caramba. Hello, and welcome to Benny's Alternate Universe. My name is Inigo Montoya, prepare to die. It's a true story of what happens when 11 ducks are picked to live in an apartment. And find out what happens when rock and roll stops being polite and starts getting real. It's the real world. Benny's Alternate Universe. We had a false start on this take, okay? Of about 30 seconds and then some camera adjustments. The first time I started it, this thing was at about this volume. And the reason why is because I'm listening to today a tape that's been too long since I listened to. Probably over a year. One of the best of all time. Super, super influential and just great album from Iggy and the Stooges, Raw Power. But there's a reason why we're talking about Raw Power today, and this is probably going to be, I guess not, I only got about 15 and a half minutes on the memory bank there, which is a shame because we're talking about Raw Power today because yesterday was Kurt Cobain's birthday. He would have been 52. Of course, one of our favorite rock stars of all time, who we love so much. Lead singer, guitarist of Nirvana, for those of you who just got on the internet for the first time. We're not going to get into him. We've talked about Nirvana on the show. But he published a list. Actually, Nirvana was episode 1, by the way. Check it out. Very wet behind the ears, just like I still am. We're trying. I'm on this third-person trip today. I gotta stop that. I am trying the best I can to bring you the rock. As Kurt Cobain was during his lifetime, he at one point wrote a list of his top 50 albums that was later published in his journals. Maybe we'll talk about that sometime. I'm not a huge fan of that publication. I think it's kind of an invasion of privacy. As a journalist myself, I'd like to add thank you to our sponsor. The show's doing well. We picked up a new sponsor this week, Elvis Brand Coffee. Really, really good. Elvis Brand. The king is dead. The king of rock and roll is gone, but the king of coffee lives on. Elvis Presley Brand Coffee. God damn, that's a tasty cup of coffee. Okay. And at the top of this top 50 Kurt Cobain albums list is Raw Power. Maybe slightly surprising to music geeks who are big Nirvana fans and analysts. I think Nirvana ended up sounding a lot more like his number 2 pick, Surfer Rosa by Pixies. But nonetheless, Raw Power was the third album by Detroit-based rock and roll band, the Stooges. And they had undergone a lot of drama in their career. They were friends of the MC5, and they were kind of around that revolutionary element that was going on in the late 60s Detroit scene. Heavy drug use, heavy craziness, courtesy of lead singer Iggy Pop. Legendary stage antics. You see my Stooges poster on the wall in my lounge area all the time with him bent over backwards and cutting himself with broken bottles on stage, smearing peanut butter on himself, doing all kinds of gyrations, playing a vacuum cleaner, just a total nut. And they made 2 albums with their original lineup of Iggy, Ron Ashton on guitar, Scott Ashton on drums, and the bass player whose name escapes me. And both classics, Stooges, self-titled, and the follow-up Funhouse. Those albums are great in their way. Funhouse in particular, side 1 is absolutely killer, and side 2 is terrible. I'm sorry. I don't have patience for this. I'm not against experimental music. I just don't like when the Stooges do it. I don't think they're that good at it, to be honest with you. I think they're really good at rock and roll music. I think they're one of the best rock and roll bands to ever walk the earth. And on their third album, some kind of record company BS got in the way. I don't know. I think maybe they moved up to the... No, they were always on a major. I mean, this is the 60s, so that's just how it's done. I believe they were on whatever Doors label was, Elektra. But I know they had some like heavy Doors worship going on. But now they're on CBS for the 73 album, Raw Power. And they wanted to push Iggy as the star, as the focal point of the group. And that's why this album is credited to Iggy and the Stooges. That's also part of the reason why, and I knew this story at one point, I don't know, you know, I mean, I love punk rock, and I definitely geeked out on punk rock for many years of my life, but it's been a while now. I kind of tend lately more toward the classic rock and some 80s rock, and actually bringing back the 90s indie rock. But enough about me. They also got themselves a new guitarist, a lead guitarist in James Williamson. James Williamson is one of my favorite guitarists of all time. His playing is really passionate, blues rock player. Just a raw style on his guitar playing, because it's not that he's really did anything innovative, really. Guitar wise, I don't think so, really. By 73, Zeppelin had already been doing big things for quite a while. Sabbath was also on the scene, but what he did bring was just a lot of passion. There's something about the playing of James Williamson that for me really connects, and very satisfying to listen to this album. I've listened to it a million times, and it has some of their best songs for sure. And that's the thing about the Stooges. They have a very short discography. If you want to get into the reunion stuff, that's for hardcore fans only. But first three albums are all great, and all of the first three albums each contain some of their best songs. So it's not like they have any bad albums, but some of the songs on here, it's of course Search and Destroy, probably the most well-known Stooges song to the general population. I Need Somebody is unbelievable. Definitely a groove and a raunchiness to it. It's got a very sleazy, raunchy sound. The way that Iggy sings, it'll make the hair stand up on your neck. Killer riff that just grooves really slinky and nice, and he's singing about how he needs somebody, and he needs somebody just like you. And it's unbelievable. The title track, Raw Power, is so sick. It just delivers that feeling of raw power to you. It's one of those very rare occasions where the song title and lyrics match the music of the song perfectly. Raw power is what he's singing about. Raw power is what the song itself is. One of the greatest songs, in my opinion, in the history of rock and roll. Actually, absolutely unbelievable. Might be my favorite Stooges song. I don't know. I am real partial to I Need Somebody. I love that song. And then you also have a couple songs that are, in the past, I don't think Stooges made slow songs that were that great on their first two albums. And this is where that changed. And so what you get is like a really well-rounded album too, very listenable. But you get a couple slower and lighter songs like GimMe Danger, which again, you know, Iggy's coming on to this girl. GimMe Danger, Little Stranger, and just his vocals and lyrics combined with what we know about him exudes such a dangerous presence. It's a romantic thing. It's a fatalistic, you know, Death Trip is on here. Come along on my death trip. Your pretty face is going to hell. So there's like this nihilistic youth, you know, sexy, cool, heavy, hard rockin' killer vibe going on here. Now I want to edit the duck rating system to give an award for sex appeal, because a lot of records do lose points on that or gain points on that. Rock and roll, to my understanding, is supposed to be sexy, among other things. You know, at times. Doesn't have to be. I mean, I wouldn't say Sabbath had a lot of sex appeal, and you know, it's well known that they're my favorite. But it's something that, well, maybe it's too subjective. Now we're gonna leave sex appeal out of it, but this album has it. The production is something that's disputed a lot. People say that this album sounds like shit. I disagree. I think it sounds really great, actually, coming out of this stereo. What's the problem? I can hear the guitar, bass, drums, vocals fine. Drums are maybe a little muffled. There's nothing wrong with that. Guitar tones are killer all over the entire record. Vocal sounds great. Vocal performance. All the performances are great. So I'm not going to go with that line of thinking that it sounds like shit. I think it sounds the best out of all their records. And also, the demotion, I guess you'd call it, of Ron Asheton to bass. He's a hell of a bass player, you know? I mean, he's a great guitar player, for sure. Wrote some of the best riffs in rock history, but if you gotta get somebody to play bass in the Stooges, wouldn't the guitar player of the Stooges be the ultimate best possible pick? Somebody who wrote, you know, all their songs, who was at every rehearsal and every show and has been with the band since day one. Wouldn't that really be an ideal replacement? Because he definitely sounds right at home playing bass for the Stooges. This is not a Jason Newkid situation by any means. Stooges would go their separate ways after this album. This would be the last Stooges album. They did put out 2 reunion albums, and you know, I'm so bad about listening to new music. I hate listening to music on my phone. One of the things too is that my phone, the battery dies a lot, and I have things that I have to do. Like I have to run my eBay store. I have to promote my music that I'm doing. I have to promote Elvis Presley brand coffee, and so I just don't listen to music on my phone a whole lot. But they have two reunion albums. One is the Weirdness, which I heard. I did not like it. There was a couple cool songs on there, like My Idea of Fun was cool, but overall not that great. And they did a reunion album with Williamson on guitar, which I have yet to hear. I put it on the other day, but I had it on for a minute, and then I don't know, I had to plug the phone in and do something else. That was that. So maybe today I'll listen to it. As far as rating, Stooges Raw Power has longevity, of course. I first heard it probably in 96, 97, and that was like 15 years after it came out, and kids still listen to it today. My daughter likes this kind of music. Definitely funky. Killer grooves going on all over this record. Penetration, which is on right now, is one of them. It's a lot of fun. All Stooges records are fun. I think this cover is total classic, iconic. Got the cover award. Production, I'm not going to award this because it's disputed, and some people would say it's bad. I wouldn't say it's good. I'd say it's fine. You know, the production doesn't stand out or get in the way. Of course, it's something special. One of the greatest records in rock, punk, proto-punk, big influence on New York Dolls, Ramones, and so forth. Definitely heavy. Search and Destroy, one of the heaviest things out there at the time. Stooges, very unique band, very unusual band. Gotta give them that. I'm running out of time. Attitude is Stooges. Stooges are Attitude. Their lead singer is the young Iggy Pop. Get out of here. Was it smart? Gonna say no. They're the Stooges. Was it so stupid it was smart? certainly. But we're not doing that on this show. 2, 4, 6, 8 ducks. And I'm going to give them a mega duck too, because it's raw power. And it's one of the greatest of all time. If you haven't heard it, hear it immediately. Get thee to the tape store. And thank you for joining me once again on Benny's Alternate Universe Elvis Presley Coffee. Have a great day.